There are 11 major organ systems found within the human body. These organ systems consist of the integumentary system, which functions to enclose the internal structures and protect deeper organs and tissues, and also contains sensoreceptors for things like touch, pressure, temperature, and things like that. The major structures or organs of the integumentary system include the skin, which consists of the epidermis and the dermis, the associated hairs, and the sensoreceptors that I mentioned previously. Next, we have the skeletal system, which forms the internal support system or framework of the body, and it works closely with the muscular system to enable and produce movements. The major structures and organs of the skeletal system include the bones, the cartilages, and the joints. The muscular system is the system that functions to produce movement of the skeleton, specifically at the joints of the skeleton. But it also has the function of maintaining body temperature by producing body heat. The major structures and organs include the skeletal muscles and their associated tendons that connect them to the skeleton, and some of them also connect them to cartilages as well. Next, we have the nervous system, which functions to receive and process sensory information. It also communicates with other cells and tissues in order to cause responses to the sensory information that it receives and processes, and it's one of the major organ systems that controls homeostasis. The major structures of the nervous system include the brain, the spinal cord, and the associated nerves with the brain and the spinal cord. Next, we have the endocrine system, which is the second of the major organ systems that controls homeostasis. The endocrine system uses hormones to control other organs and other organ systems within the body, and it also maintains metabolism as well. Major structures or organs of the endocrine system include the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the pancreas, and the adrenal glands. Next, we have the cardiovascular system, which functions to transport oxygen as well as nutrients to all of the body's cells and tissues, and it also receives waste from those cells and tissues and transports that fluid to the kidneys where it will be processed, and those wastes will be eliminated. Major structures and organs of the cardiovascular system include the heart, the blood vessels, as well as the blood. The respiratory system exchanges oxygen and carbon dioxide between the air that's in the lungs and the blood, and specifically the red blood cells in the blood. We see that major structures and organs of the respiratory system include the nasal cavities, the trachea, the lungs, and the bronchi. Next, we have the digestive system, which breaks down ingested food into smaller components, and then those smaller components are used by other cells and tissues as the building blocks for their carbohydrates, their proteins, and their lipids. The digestive system also functions to eliminate non-digestible food residue as feces. The major structures and organs include the mouth, the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine. But we'll see a few other important accessory structures with the digestive system as well. Next, we have the urinary system, which functions to eliminate fluid waste from the body. It also functions in maintaining and controlling water as well as electrolyte balance of the blood and the body tissues. Major structures include things like the kidneys and the urinary bladder. Here I've kind of subdivided the reproductive system into male and female, just because each one, although both are used for reproduction and producing offspring, they both function in slightly different ways. We have the male reproductive system, which produces sex hormones. We'll see very similar function with the female reproductive system. Specifically, male reproductive system produces testosterone, and the reproductive cells or gametes that the male reproductive system produces are called sperm. And then the remaining structures of the male reproductive system primarily function in delivering that sperm to the female reproductive tract. Major structures and organs include things like the testes, the vas deferens, the urethra, and the penis. Female reproductive system also produces sex hormones. In this case, they produce estrogens as well as progesterone, two really important hormones. And the reproductive cells or gametes that the female reproductive system produces are called ova. As in general, the female reproductive system functions to support and nourish a fetus until birth. And the major structures and organs include things like the ovaries, the ovarian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. And finally, we have the lymphatic system, which is fairly similar to the blood vessels of the cardiovascular system in that it is a fluid transport system. The lymphatic system specifically returns fluid from the tissues to the bloodstream, but also uses leukocytes in order to fight pathogens or tumor cells. Major structures of the lymphatic system include the lymphatic vessels, which are very similar to veins, the lymphatic nodes or the lymph nodes, and the spleen.